Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 3 of Facebook marketing. Or Facebook ads is our focus this week. I'm calling this theme the pay to play week. Hopefully, this speakers isn't too echoey. I'm working out of the digital media zone at Ryerson today, so I've got a little bit of an echo in this room, but hopefully, it isn't too bad. If the audio is annoying, please send me a message and I'll see what I can do about getting you a better version, or I will go into iMovie and tweak it as I can. All right, let's get started. So this week's goals, our main focus is to really start to get an in-depth understanding of Facebook ads. So I want to focus on content specifically and understanding EdgeRank, and then start to get you playing around in Facebook for Business in the ads platform component. So we started in there to build the Facebook page, which you guys have done, and I've started to see some of the pages that you've posted. So now what we need to see is now we need to see how we can promote those pages with some ad content and build out the campaigns. And there's 3 big components of an ad campaign: the campaign, the ad set, and the ad. And we'll go through all 3 of those components next week when we really dive into Facebook for Business. But before we can do that, we need to focus on EdgeRank. And the reason why I put EdgeRank in before ads is because we need to understand what it is about the Facebook platform that serves content in a way that users can benefit from, that serves content in a way that users will get the most value from. So instead of every page that you like, there are updates appearing in your news feed, you only see the updates from the pages where Facebook's algorithm has determined that content is meaningful or valuable to you. And that algorithm is different for every single of Facebook's billion users, if you can believe it. So it's a really, really powerful algorithm and a powerful network. It's also not completely clear how the algorithm works, but there are some assumptions that have been made along the way by some very smart people who have helped us to identify the pieces that we need as marketers to really understand. Now, you may or may not have seen Facebook's organic reach, as we've talked about in this class in some of the readings, that organic reach is dropping dramatically, less than 1%. And what that means with organic reach is that the content that you post on your page is going to be seen by less than 1% of the fans who have already said they want to receive your updates. So if you have 1,000 fans, it means that less than 1 or 2 fans will see that content in their newsfeed if you don't use ads to boost that content for them. Meaning we have a pay-to-play model. And the reason why the fans won't see that content is through the algorithm known as EdgeRank. EdgeRank has 3 components: affinity, weight, and decay. And while that sounds really maybe intense and algorithmic, it's actually quite simple. Affinity just means, what is my relationship to the object? So is this content a brand page content? Is this coming from my stated husband because I've indicated that I'm in a relationship with this person? Is it coming from a former employer and I've listed on my page that I used to work for George Brown College, therefore the content that George Brown College is posting is meaningful to me? Weight is the type of object. So is this picture? Is this a link? And decay, how long has the content been posted? And decay actually changes. You won't necessarily always see the most recent posts on your Facebook newsfeed. You'll see a combination of the most recent posts combined with the type of post it is, whether it's an image, a link, etc., and how important that post is to you based on your relationship to the object. And we're going to go through all 3 now in more specific detail. So looking at affinity. Affinity is when you take an action on Facebook as a user, not as a brand. You're telling the Facebook algorithm some information about you. So when you click on a profile, when you add a new photo, when you like somebody's status, when you read, click, post, or otherwise interact with any links, whether you're going off of Facebook or clicking through to other brand pages and events, or you use an app like you sync your Facebook to Netflix or Rdio or Songza, etc., Spotify. You're telling Facebook, this type of content is important to me. I'm constantly reading links that other people post on Facebook, so I am a clicky, quote unquote, clicky user who reads a lot of content on Facebook. So Facebook is going to naturally show me more news link articles. And in particular, it's going to show me news link articles that are strongly associated to people I frequently are interacting with. Those people are quote unquote important to me according to the algorithm. Affinity is cumulative, so it's not a one-time if you start suddenly creeping your ex's page that suddenly that content will always appear in your feed. If you do it randomly, it doesn't necessarily have as much importance as something that is sustained over the long term. So the algorithm is important and intelligent enough to understand that your best friend, although she might not come on Facebook every month, or every day, sorry, she comes on, maybe monthly, but that content is important to you because you've been friends over the long term, and every time she does post, you interact with it. So your edge rank is constantly growing. I thought this quote was so great. It's one of the most important things that you need to realize about the affinity and edge rank is that as a marketer, affinity is one way. It means that you visiting a Forgotten Friends profile will not increase the likelihood of your content appearing in their newsfeed. So even though you might think, oh, I'm going to create my ex's page so that I can see their content more on my newsfeed, that might be true, but you in no way affect how they see your content in their feed. And that's what's so interesting to me and exciting about the algorithm is that you never know what other people's news feeds will look like. And you might think, oh, I posted that picture yesterday of my little girl and my mom didn't like the photo. What's up with that? It's actually possible your mom didn't see it and it wasn't served it in the newsfeed because generally she just never clicks on anything in Facebook. So her algorithm has deemed her not a quote-unquote clicky user. Speaking of photos, let's talk about weight. So affinity being the most important component of EdgeRank. The second is weight. That's the type of object it is, photos, links, and videos. We know that we've seen through sites like EdgeRank Checker, but also lots of talks that have been given, that generally speaking, videos rank the highest in the news feed, then photos and status updates and links. So if you're a brand and you embed video content now, especially with video content auto playing in the news feed, that content is more likely to be served to your fans without ad promotion than photos or status updates or just text and links. Now remember, everybody's weight and affinity is different. So just because you're a user who always clicks on links, it doesn't mean that you'll never see a video link. It just means that you're more likely to see text links, even though overall Facebook's more likely to show you video ads. So if you look at somebody like Jon Stewart's The Daily Show, they are really on top of Facebook content and the EdgeRank algorithm. And what I love is you always see now they're constantly posting little video clips from the episode that aired the night before, and they've even closed captioned it because they know that there's an auto play happening within videos in newsfeed, and that you might not have sound hooked up when that video auto plays, especially if you're on mobile. So just know overall photos are going to rank higher. They're going to get more click-throughs. They're going to get more views. Overall, they do much better. So your photos, really, if I'm going to be blunt about it, every post you should ever post on Facebook should have a photo. Don't just post text, because it's so unlikely. If you're already dealing with such a reduced number of people who are going to see your organic post at all, even if you boost it from an ad perspective, even then you're still competing with a ton of content. So now you're putting dollars behind some posts and still run the risk of people not seeing it. You need to have engaging content, and that means visual assets. The last component of Facebook EdgeRank is decay. So decay is just really timing. So the longer the post has been posted, the less likely it is to be shown. And this comes right down to the hour. So you might see a site like BlogTO in Toronto, they post 15 posts a day. And they're not worried about flooding the news feed because Facebook's algorithm will only show users the content it deems important. So if I, as a user, am always clicking on food-related posts from BlogTO, it's very likely that I will only see the food-related posts from BlogTO as they update, even though they might send 15, 16, 17 different posts in the day. I'm not going to be flooded with it overwhelmingly. In fact, Facebook limits the overall promoted posts to showing your content 2 times a day to non-fans and 3 to 4 times a day to current fans. So post away. Post all the time so that you can really master this decay element of the Facebook algorithm. And make sure that you're not just posting in the morning because your users could be on at night, and you should be using the metrics feeds right within your brand page to learn when your users are online to at least develop an understanding of when your content is likely to be the most successful. So what can we learn from EdgeRank, this idea of affinity, weight, and decay? You have to engage constantly and often. Ask questions that inspire content, because we know that posts that have a lot of shares and comments are likely to be shown again and again and have a higher weight in the newsfeed than ones that have no result. Post photos often, then measure how well they did. Inspire repeat conversations with good content. Know that your organic growth is going to shrink and you need to pay to have that content focused in the news feed, and never lose sight of those goals to get as many eyes on your page, whether you're paying for it or it's free, and know that you're going to have to put some dollars behind it. Which leads to our next point on advertising. What you're looking at on the screen here is an original, very old PowerPoint deck that Zuckerberg presented to partners on selling ads on Facebook in the very early days. And so this is, you can pause the video if you want to read it, a very hilarious idea of what Zuckerberg and the Facebook sales team envisioned for Facebook advertising in its very early days. So what is the most important thing to learn about ads? And I'll say this in the lecture light as well. The most important thing to learn about Facebook ads is that you have a goal for why it is you're spending any money on Facebook. And quite frankly, that goal should be driving sales or conversions out of Facebook. Because it's great and all to spend $5,000 to get more Facebook likes, but if in the end we're talking about 0 to 1% overall organic growth and content, like that content being served to your fans, what's the point of paying for 5,000 fans? Instead, pay to have content be given a stronger weight in people's news feeds and a stronger affinity to up your affinity in news feed, in your users' news feeds, so that they click off to your website and take some action there. So the number one ad campaign, all of these different options for ad campaigns, whether it's page post engagement, growing your page likes, app installs, app engagement, events responses. Yeah, those are all good, but to me the most important thing is website conversions. How do we move somebody out of Facebook over to our site to make a sale, buy a ticket, donate, do some sort of important action? Ad types. So the first ad type that is one option you'll see is this idea of sponsored stories. Now, sponsored stories is a language that came out a long time ago around this idea of paying to have users' interactions with your brand page promoted. So if my friend likes Ticketmaster, then you could pay to show me content or show my friends content that said, oh look, hey, Amanda's brother likes Ticketmaster, so you should like Ticketmaster also. Now this sort of integrated sponsored story has just the name of the game with ads. So not only can you produce an ad that has an excellent title, excellent image, excellent copy, but you get this social sharing where, you know, Jessica Watson likes this page. The social components is automatically rolled into any ad content that you have, whether it's in the news feed or in the right sidebar. So that's a bonus for you as a marketer. Speaking of that right sidebar, that ad location on the right side of Facebook is called the Marketplace, and Marketplace ads are different than newsfeed ads, which we'll get to. Marketplace ads tend to be cheaper to buy overall. They also have lower conversion rates, much smaller images, text heavy, often drives to external sites, and the sponsored stories or the social sharing components are automatically included in that. And you can see that in the bottom left of the image screenshot I have here, where you can look at notable.ca and then see Amanda and Sheena both like Notable. That's that social sharing component. Those two are my friends. The newsfeed ad. So this is really where the big budgets start to come in. It's also where the biggest opportunity for learning who your true audience is comes in. So newsfeed ads allow much bigger landscape space for images, which is important. You can also have up to 6 images run in any given campaign, which is amazing because then you can have multiple images in the same ad, or images that are changing, so it's one image per ad, but it's a different image to different users. So you can test and see which visuals do the best. You also want to have a large variety of copy changes so that you can see, is the reason why I'm not getting conversions because the image is grossing people out, because the copy is boring, or because my targeting was wrong. And all of these things are really important keys to learn as you move through building newsfeed ads. So sometimes people say, well, I don't really have a website that I'm pointing to. I'm just trying to build my Facebook audience. So my goal is going to be to promote the page. So if we go back to that goals for a second, we can actually see page likes as one of the goals or the results that you might have focused for your ad campaign. My question is why? Why are you paying for likes? If you have good content on your website, if you're constantly posting good content to your page itself, maybe you're boosting that page content, we'll come to that, that you would hope that those pages have some organic, natural growth in the trajectory of how pages build without necessarily having to pay for those fans to come in. The whole thing about paying for fans is that you don't know if those people are actually interested in your content or if they just saw the ad and then randomly clicked over, and you're not going to know if that ad spend paying for likes really converts to your ultimate goal, which is to make money in sales through e-commerce or fundraising or sell tickets to your event. So my big question with promoting page likes is why? Aha, a much more interesting goal to me, promoting your website. Facebook is really making this really beautifully easy in the newsfeed now. There's an automatic call to action button. And studies have shown, I've heard from Facebook directly, that says doesn't matter what this text is, whether it's learn more, click here, buy now, doesn't matter, has the same conversion rates. So pick any text you want, it doesn't matter, but make sure that that button is there. That call to action button in the bottom right of an image is so important. You can actually create conversion pixels, so it's a little bit of code that gets put on your website that links back to your ad campaign to track the whole history from when somebody clicks on your ad all the way through to the site to cart to checkout. And Facebook can report that right in the business center around how successful your ad was in driving conversions. So if I bought $5,000 worth of ads, but I sold $10,000 worth of merchandise, then $5,000 of ads was great and worth it. Next time I'll spend $10,000 on ads, maybe I'll make $20,000 in purchases. These numbers are directly accessible in Facebook, and we're going to dive into that deeply next week when we look at conversions and the ad campaign layout and setup. But for now, the most important thing to think about is the higher level. What is the goal of an ad campaign? What am I really trying to do? And hopefully you're trying to promote something. That's why you're in Facebook marketing. One of those things is likely your website. OCPM is optimized cost per million or cost per thousand impressions, and it can be a helpful model to having your page reach the widest number of people to drive impressions. And we'll look at those cost strategies in a little bit. Another goal could be I want my fans to see my content because I want them to stay engaged with the page. I want to influence that algorithm so that they interact, comment, and share so that my content goes out to their friends without me paying for it. And that strategy is called boosting or promoting the post. So that's not building a separate ad in the newsfeed, but simply taking existing content that you post to your brand page and putting some dollars behind it to boost it to existing fans. And also you can boost it to non-fans, but then it takes the form of a regular ad. What's great about this is you can actually target your post to specific fans. So if you have 500,000 fans, you could target all the way down to postal code, which is coming soon. So exciting if you're working in any sort of political work. Targeting by postal code is huge. Boosted posts tend to have a lower overall campaign price point, so you can enter in at the $5, $10, $20 a day, even week budget, and get some really great metrics and learning about who your audience and how your content is without having to build a really expensive Facebook ad. I find that the reach can be really wide and great. You can, let's say target to reach 2,000 of your Facebook fans or 50, 60, 70% of your Facebook fans, but conversions vary. Sometimes people, and that really just has to do with the post itself. Are you just promoting a random blog post on your site, or are you promoting the cart that's going to drive the actions to conversion to make a sale. And that really comes down to copy and images and what the call to action overall is to the users. So there is great reach, but conversions can be low depending on what it is you're actually building in those promoted posts. So really this week, what I want to stress to you and what I would love to see you discuss amongst each other in Blackboard is what are my goals in building an ad campaign? What am I actually trying to do? And does this make sense with the budget I have and the copy I'm presenting? Does it make sense to run a newsfeed ad, a marketplace right-hand ad, or just simply to promote posts at a lower budget? What makes sense for me? If you're doing the page posts, no, you can boost a post for as low as $5, but you could build campaigns with huge budgets. I'm sure Facebook would take your $500,000 per post if you wanted to spend that. Though seems to me like a waste of money because you might as well build an ad campaign with big budgets that actually target a much bigger audience with much better targeting than a boosted post can do. Can't boost a post unless you have at least 50 fans on your page, so that's important to know if you're just building your page from scratch here, folks. Got to get your friends to like the page so that you can start to boost that content. Otherwise, like, what's the point of paying to show it to your fans if you don't have any fans to show it to? You should also know that when you're building an ad, whether it's a boosted post or newsfeed ad, you cannot have any more than 20% text in the actual image, and Facebook's algorithm will measure that and reject the ad. So what that means is that you need to create images that are truly images and illustrations, not images that have some sort of call to action text. And that's part of the reason why I think Facebook put that call to action button directly in the ad below, so you could take that text out of the image. Now, here's a really interesting thing that I have learned in Facebook's marketing documentation that they've presented. And I'll read it out to you, and then you can take your time to absorb it. When you're building a Facebook boosted post, it's possible that your organic reach that you might have naturally got from Facebook's algorithm that shows your content to people who are interested in it, that organic reach amount can drop after you pay for the ad. So each page post, the total reach is broken down into organic reach and paid reach. Who saw the page naturally and who saw the post because you paid for them to see the post. After you boost a post on your page, the number that represents organic reach might go down. And this is because the people who saw your post before it was boosted and then saw it again after it was boosted are counted towards paid reach. So that means that there are some people who saw your page naturally through organic reach, but then they get counted in paid reach because they saw it again once it was paid. They were served because they can be served each post 3 to 4 times per day, as I mentioned earlier in the lecture. So just be careful when you're looking at, oh, my organic reach numbers look lower. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's true. It just means that, you know, your overall unique views are actually kind of low because the same person saw it when it was organic and when it was paid, which is kind of a bummer for your overall spend and why you need to have really good targeting to prevent some of that. Okay, so what if your goal is, I just want to promote my event. So I'm not really trying to click off out of my website. Maybe I want to click over to Eventbrite, but actually I really want RSVPs to the event on my Facebook page because I want all of their friends to see that they're attending my event and click over and read about it. So there's some really great goals here for click-throughs, and in the end, your goal really is still to sell tickets or get people to RSVP to your event, right? So in the end, you're still probably driving web conversions, even if the website is Eventbrite or Guest List app. But for now, you know, you can also build ad campaigns that drive directly to an event. You can see here I built one for the Trial of David Suzuki, which was an event at the ROM in Toronto. And we were promoting the event page itself because we really wanted to drive a lot of RSVPs to the Facebook page. We had a great call to action button here that said join event. And actually this did really, really well in terms of performing conversions and getting people to say that they were going and actually start some really vibrant conversations on the event page itself. Now, if you're curious about that 20% text, I would say to review Facebook ad guidelines. I'll post this in Blackboard as you're reading for the week as some additional resources. If you're somebody who's following a lot of regulations or you've got a company who absolutely wants to make sure that you're adhering to any of the guidelines for Facebook, then this is something you need to look at. My strategies for you. You want to build a strong ad? Have vibrant, strong photos and videos. Also consider things like offers. So are we doing just for Facebook fan promotions, 50% off, today only? That language all performs really well on a conversion site. Exclusive events, so exclusive pre-sales to an event to our Facebook fans. That's a great thing to promote as a newsfeed ad, really high conversions. We've also seen from a copy perspective that questions do really well. So are you ready to join the trial of David Suzuki? Is David Suzuki guilty? That type of content does really, really well in question forms, for instance, of images, but also text copy. So consider images that ask people for their opinion, ask people to give. You'll be surprised how many people are willing to do so. Some other copy approaches when we look at promoted posts and also ads that appear in the newsfeed. Love humor. Netflix does such a brilliant job with humor, don't they? Arrested Development, Orange is the New Black, even House of Cards. Humor, look at the amazing number of shares, likes, and comments that this Arrested Development ad got. Really consider use of image, use of banners, small logo, brilliant overall. You even threw a hashtag in there. If you're building an ad, we're going to come back to the glossary of terms when we look at reporting next week. So start researching, reading, and learning the glossary this week and bring your questions to the discussion board so that next week when we build custom reports, that'll be part of your homework, you can feel really comfortable in doing so. Some of the other terms you need to know in terms of Facebook reporting is connections. So did you connect a user to the page, the connection being an action, right? So did they like the page? Did they click on the event? Did they click off to my website? You can actually report on your CTR or your click-through rate and your conversion rates. So you need to understand, how much money am I willing to spend to convert a certain number of sales to my website, and that will help you to understand where your Facebook budgeting should start to take place. And then you need to know the actions. What was taken? Did people RSVP? Did they like? Did they share it? Did they comment? How successful was this ad? Apologies for coughing. In building the ad, at its core, you need to have creative images that sit somewhere between 600 pixels and 315 pixels high for newsfeed ads. So that's your creative element. And as I said, you can upload up to 6 images that would potentially serve differently, or you can have multiple images in the same ad. We've seen conversions do better with single image, single copy, even though the image can change, and then you have to look at your reporting to see which images do better. Know that you're limited in terms of copy for your images, 90 characters. Also consider whether your image is going out through mobile or desktop. If you're selling something, if you've got e-commerce, we've seen mobile just isn't converting on overall shopping cart, so getting all the way to shopping cart and making a purchase. So if you're looking to drive 50% off buy now and get them to click and actually make the purchase, don't pay to serve the ad on mobile, because there's no point in paying to serve the ad on mobile if they're not actually going to make the purchase on mobile. So you're wasting money on impressions there. However, if you're trying to click through for an event and it's a quick RSVP, then that would be very mobile friendly. When we start talking about targeting, this is where your activity for the week is to launch an ad campaign in draft. Don't go live yet unless you're ready to go. But start to play around with the targeting and see about the different sizes that you can build. On general, you want to target about 100,000 fans or 100,000 users per ad in terms of reach. So millions are too big. Tens of thousands is too small. 100,000 users is great for a target. If it makes sense, target interest, target gender, target age. Consider targeting people who are already your fans versus people who are not your fans, and what the difference in that would be for your overall conversion. And start to discuss those audience and targeting with us as a group to see if it makes sense and how you can better refine your overall targeting. Think about this really old, but I still think super relevant targeting for Facebook that Facebook put up years ago in their marketing guidelines. So if you consider Ray's Pizza, you don't want to simply say, oh, we'll target everybody on on Facebook who likes pizza because it's too big of an audience. You're going to end up with this huge million-sized audience. It's unlikely to convert to your local Ray's Pizza shop. Instead, think about the subset of people who you know naturally are likely to buy pizza. College kids studying, bargain diners, busy families, and then create 3 separate ad campaigns that target each one of these users. So one ad campaign targeting college kids with specific copy for college kids, another ad campaign targeting busy families with different ad copy and images for busy families, and the same for bargain diners. By running between 6 to 9, 10, 12 ads every day with very specific audiences, you'll have a much higher conversion rate than doing 1 or 2 ads with general copy with an overall reach of 1 million users. Your conversion rates overall are going to be low, and you're basically just wasting money serving your Ray's Pizza ad to people who aren't, talking about busy family to college students who aren't in the family life yet. So if you overall think about targeting, good targeting is saying things like male and female 18 to 22 from this local community who like pizza, Italian food, takeout, and Italian cuisine who are in college. Not great targeting is all men and women 13 to 65 in all of the UK who like food. Way too general and unlikely to convert to pizza sales. All right, so we've talked about copy and we've talked about targeting very briefly, very overall, very introductory level. Now let's get into the money. So when you're talking about Facebook, you're actually in a bidding system. So you're bidding for the lowest price that you're willing to pay, or the maximum price you're willing to pay, and then you pay the lowest price of all the people who've bid, or actually the average of everybody who's bid. So the bid price is constantly changing, and you're paying the price that you're willing to have served per 1,000 impressions or per click. Facebook has 3 different pricing models: OCPM, CPC, and CPM. OCPM is the ideal budget model. That's optimized cost per million. Optimized cost per 1,000 impressions, and it's optimized to give you the best price of the overall spend. It's really important to make a decision between your daily budget or your lifetime budget. How much are you willing to spend over the lifetime of the campaign versus how much are you willing to spend per day? Facebook recommends that you set daily budget limits, not lifetime budgets, because if you think about it, if you set a lifetime budget, let's say you're running a campaign from Monday to Friday, and you set your budget of $1,000. Every day you're bidding on the price to see, are you the highest bid? Are you going to get that target audience of college kids in Birmingham? And if you're the highest price, you're going to win, and so on and so forth. However, Facebook's also going to optimize your budget to make sure that you don't spend all your money in one day. So they're going to limit the overall optimized cost per ad based on the $1,000 over the week. So let's say they might say, generally speaking, we're going to make sure that you only spend $200 on Monday to make sure you have enough money to go through the week. So they're going to optimize your bid price. You're not bidding. Facebook's optimizing it to keep your budget low. But you can actually lose bids this way because you'll be bidding a lower amount than the next 2 advertisers next to you. And that means your overall ad will be seen to less people. So when you're using optimized cost per 1,000 impressions, what you want to do is set a daily spend of whatever it is, $50 a day, $10 a day. There's lots of different ways to set the overall daily spend. And that means you can set the highest amount, whatever you're willing to pay, whether it's $2 an ad, $3 an ad, whatever the campaign overall spend is, and make sure that Facebook maxes out and optimizes your bid price because you're only spending that much money today. And you can have ad campaigns with launch dates for every day. There's lots of ways to monitor this so that you can make sure that you're spending your full budget, but it's limited to a daily spend. And if this is confusing, by the way, let's get into the discussion board and really hash it out. And don't forget, we're talking about ads again next week, so hopefully this isn't too overwhelming for everyone. There's also the budgeting of cost per click, and that's when you're only paying for people who actually click on the ad. So sometimes marketers, especially in nonprofits and lower budgets, can be very attracted to the cost per click model because they think, oh great, I only want to pay if somebody actually clicks on my ad. The downside is that Facebook optimizes your content as part of that algorithm to people who are naturally clicky, which Facebook has said is only about 15% of users. Remember that Facebook users are logging on anywhere between, I think they said 10 to 15 times per day. So we're logging on a lot, not necessarily clicking that often. So you have to remember that if you are only paying per click and Facebook's going to optimize that algorithm to only show your content to users who have clicked on ads, that you're drastically limiting the number of people who will see your content. So that's a big, big reason, even though cost per click models tend to maybe be a cheaper overall campaign approach, it's actually going to be much less effective from a conversion rate perspective. CPM is another really effective model, but it means you're naturally going in and bidding how much you're willing to spend, and you have to look at your bid rates, and OCPM just does this for you and optimizes your bid based on the average overall number of bids for that same target audience. And then depending on whatever your max spend is, will optimize your bid price to play in the space and hopefully help you to win. And based on your content, if your content's doing well, getting lots of shares, getting lots of click-throughs, Facebook is likely to help you win that bid moving forward. So OCPM is a really great approach for most of you in this class. So if you're building a new campaign, I would say choose the OCPM model. You can do that when you're looking in the campaign budgeting at the bottom of the overall campaign approach. You'll see bidding for clicks and then OCPM, bidding for clicks, CPC, CPM, or OCPM. Pick OCPM here. If you're interested in how you can build, we're going to get into ad campaign custom reports so we can really look at impressions, cost per excuse me, sorry, your conversion rates, cost per conversion, cost per customer acquisition, and all of the custom reports, and also mobile, so cost of app installs if you're building a game. All of this to come next week. So here's the big learning for this week. Be prepared to change your ad details daily. Your copy will fatigue. People will see it. You'll get high click-throughs. There's usually, they say, can be anywhere between 3 days and a week before you'll see a nice spike in traffic, and then it'll drop off. When it drops off, you have to change the copy, change the image, so that even if that content is served to the same people, that they're re-energized to click again and again. You have to build lots of different campaigns. So campaigns to those pizza families, campaigns to the budget families, campaigns to college students, and then pause the ones that aren't doing successful and consider that learning for who your true audience is on Facebook. Make sure you try different images. Make sure you try different copy. My little hack, sometimes I like to tweet out content, which is free, tweeting all the way, and then tweets that get a lot of likes or favorites for my brand, I use as copy heading for my ads where I'm actually paying money. So I've already done a little bit of market research. I know that tweet was successful, and I use that call to action to put behind my paid ads, and that's often been a really successful and high converting approach for me. So this week's activity comes back to EdgeRank, as we need to really have a solid understanding of that to build ads next week. So what I want to know is how EdgeRank affects you as a user. What has the highest weight for you? Are you a clicky user? Are you an image user, a video user, a links user, or none of the above? So log on to Facebook, look at your newsfeed. What do you see? Images, links. What's the first brand post that you see? What's the first ad? What's compelling about that? And what did you learn from that? Next week, we're going to get into reports, and I'm going to get a glass of water. Take care, everyone. Discuss more in the Facebook Blackboard. I feel like I didn't see enough of you this week. Look forward to talking to you online. Have a great week.